Hello and welcome back, Squirrel Nation. For those of you new to the channel, please smash that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our amazing future content. Anyways, with that being said, let's dive in. Today's video is going to cover marksmen in general. The three marksmen that I'm going to use to illustrate my points are Lindis, Violet, and Valheim. I just chose them because they all are pretty top tier marksmen, and they kind of have different playstyles and roles. For instance, Lindis and Violet are both more used as junglers, Valheim is used in lanes, and Lindis and Valheim illustrate attack speed based marksmen, whereas Violet is more of a burst damage marksman. So throughout this video, I'm going to be doing clips on each of the different heroes, but notice that I'm making points that are true to all marksmen. There's been a good amount of questions about targeting on marksmen. Personally, I use lowest amount health, but at the same time, something I want people to consider on marksmen is actually as a marksman, I'm okay attacking a tank first if I can't get good positioning. So if I can get good positioning, I will obviously choose to take the squishy, which you will see in this clip. In this clip, I will end up fighting a Teleonis and a Grok. I have not great positioning, but it's just as easy for me to kill the Teleonis as it is for me to kill the Grok, so obviously I'm going to go for the Teleonis first, and that's where the targeting helps. But at the same time, I'm not going to put myself out of position just so that I can target the squishy, right? If the enemy's being disciplined and maintaining good position, then I'll actually target tanks first, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that as a marksman. So as marksman, it's not necessarily who you should be targeting for the damage, it's who you can target while you're safe, right? So right here, see, I'm not going to chase that Fennec out of position. I'm just letting things come to me. Same thing, okay, Crixie wants to get out of position, cool. And then here's what we talked about. See, I'm targeting Teleonis because the position's not much different either way, and my team's there to back me up. The difference is, notice I didn't chase down that Fennec when he ran towards his base because I did see the Teleonis and Grok, and I didn't want to be the one getting out of position. But when the Crixie got out of position to come in from behind us, obviously I target her over the Grok. And another thing is, when in terms of targeting in team fights, don't feel like you have to stay on the target that you're shooting, right? If I was shooting Grok and that Trixie ran in behind us, I'm going to turn and kill the Trixie, right? I don't get that like laser focus, oh my gosh, I'm killing Grok, I have to kill Grok before I can possibly think of changing my target. So don't do that. Same thing, just once again, I want to reiterate, safe positioning in a team fight is more important than getting damage on the squishy. So if you can safely have position and do damage to a tank, it is better than bad position and damaging the backline squishies. Okay, so here's Valheim. With Valheim, he basically plays kind of like Lindis in that he's an attack speed based marksman, but the same thing throughout with all marksmen, I hope everybody's getting out of this video, is positioning is key. Always try to be in a safe area before you're trying to dish out damage. Also know what type of marksman you're playing. So Valheim, he's attack speed based. He's going to have to auto attack a lot, and he has a lot of control. So if you notice, always kiting back with Valheim, trying to keep safe distance. And then when the enemies are using their ability, same thing, disengage like that, get your safe space, and then come back in, right? So there, I probably could have stayed and I could have bursted the Malik, but I didn't. I made distance in case he cleaves, in case, just something happens, another enemy comes in. So with marksmen, always first understand what type of marksman you're playing. Are they attack speed based? Are they burst damage based? Because that lets you know what type of positioning you need to get kills, but at the same time, it lets you know what type of position you need to be safe. So with Valheim, as we know, he's attacking his passive stacks, and he gets more and more attack speed and more movement speed, which lets him reposition in fights. So Valheim, at the beginning of fights, you actually need to position in such a way that you can attack the enemies and start building up your movement speed. Then you can use that movement speed to reposition yourself favorably for team fights. Whereas Violet can use her tactical role to reposition, or Lindis can use bushes to get the movement speed to reposition in fights. So with marksmen, know your damage and know your mobility, and understand how to use them to gain good positions in team fights and gain kills on important targets. So once again, this as a last clip is great. So Malik ults in, I keep terrain between us, I keep that wall between us so he can't jump on me. Same thing, I'm always prioritizing repositioning before anything else, right? Always repositioning. And then finally, we will end this clip with just triple kill. Same thing, reposition, reposition, reposition. Okay, Violet. Violet is all about abusing her range. Violet has insane range, and later, and the more items she builds, she becomes extremely bursty. So notice this is early game, so my burst isn't quite there as Violet, but what is still there is that range from her S1 tactical roll. So this clip's going to be a little bit longer, but just notice over time how I'm just kind of slowly chipping away. So if you notice right now, Yebnith and Slims are both full health at the beginning of this fight, right? So this is just kind of a delayed thing, and this is how Violet is, right? Don't get greedy on Marksman for these. Don't think you're just going to get in one big fight and get a kill early game with Marksman, because that's just not how their damage is. But notice I just slowly chip, right? Just tactical roll, chip, tactical roll, chip, right? And you just slowly get them more and more down. So if you notice, me and Val started full health, both of them started full health, and now look how low their health is, right? And it's just from consistent chip. And then finally, Yebnith just gets greedy, doesn't go back, and we get the kill on him. So with Marksman, I just really want to be clear to everybody. Don't expect a quick 10-second fight like you would have with an assassin, or a 5-second burst fight, right? It's slow chip damage, poke, poke, poke. Just good trades. You kind of wear away at their health over time. And that's what makes Violet so great and so scary, is she has crazy range, which allows her to poke the enemy so well, right? They have to be so scared. Notice how that Slims has to position. And if they get out of position at all, you're going to punish them. You're going to have these efficient trades that just make them fear you. Okay, so here's another clip about Violet's amazing range. So once again, her S1 we all know gives her range, bam, easy kill, but also remember, her ultimate has amazing range, and it actually has a very broad area that it covers. So in the next fight that we're going to see, the enemy Richter is going to jump on me, and basically I'm able to disengage and then get away. So same thing, kind of poking at him, right? Thankfully, my Zenial comes in. Just notice this range. Bam, that far away, she can get the kill. That ultimate, do not underestimate that ultimate. And the other amazing thing about Violet is her tactical roll. It just lets you reposition so well in team fights. It lets you dodge things like the Kali ultimate. It lets you get out of the Richter range like you saw. It lets you just handle fights so well. So anyways, Queen of range and outstanding mobility with her tactical roll and ability to just dodge and outplay your enemies. Okay, so in this clip, what I'm trying to illustrate is basically how I find Lindis to be kind of like a spider or a puppeteer, right? She sets up these kill zones, and she just sets up the environment so that it favors her going into fights. She doesn't have the burst that Violet has, but she has that craftiness to just really manipulate a team fight. So right now, you're going to notice that I see the enemy jungler Violet mid with flash, so I'm going to go steal blue, but at the same time, I'm going to set up the jungle, right? So if you notice, I set a trap there for if enemies are running, but also if enemies are coming into the fight. And then notice Flash, I get the kill on Violet. Flash is trying to get away. He runs through that trap that I set in advance. Same thing with this Yorn. The position he took is very vulnerable because I can run in and out of that bush as Lindis. So anyways, for this clip, the main point I was trying to make is in that fight, everything fell into Lindis's control, right? The traps were set up near blue, the traps were set up in the escape and or in the reinforce route so that Lindis has the opportunity to engage or disengage as she so desires. That's what makes Lindis awesome. She doesn't have the burst of Violet, but she does have an amazing control. Okay, here's another clip from the same game, and this is basically a team fight with Lindis. We're going to kill, I believe, 4 of the enemies, and it's same thing is I really want to focus on how you handle a fight with Lindis. It's all about setup, right? Once again, laying the traps where people are going to reinforce and where they're going to run away to. So we come in, we're staying near the bushes to make use of our passive. If you notice, I'm always hanging around in bushes. If you notice through the trap in the escape route, and notice just use S1 so that Superman is marked so that he can't get away. And then whole time just chasing him down through these bushes. So if you notice when I use the S1 there, when Superman was about to get out of that large bush and into the next one, once you mark a player with S1, they'll have that little yellow eye over them. That is persistent if they run into another bush. So as long as they're in your S1 range when you use it, then you will keep vision on them. So anyways, that's a great example of how to come into a team fight and really have an effect on Lindis. Is once again, you're laying traps where the enemies want to run away. You're laying traps where enemies that haven't joined the fight want to route through to join the team fight, so that it slows them and damages them coming into the fight, maybe makes them run away. And same thing, Lindis in the jungle is in her element. It will destroy anybody. I mean, Superman is one of the hardest heroes to catch up to, but right there you saw a great example of how Lindis can just chase down a Superman and make his life hell. Okay, so in this clip, it's just to illustrate kind of great team fight positioning on Lindis. With all marksmen, positioning is obviously very important because they're squishy, but with Lindis, it's extra important because her damage falls off so much if you don't have good position. So anyways, always in a bush, we get the quick pick, and the enemy is going to choose to fight here. So as Lindis, what I want to do is I want to have a bush always near me to trigger my passive, and notice the enemy actually just fights within range of a bush, which you should never do when fighting against a Lindis. But anyways, I sit in there and get my passive triggered as much as possible, so we're at a triple. This should have been a quad right there, but I missed target the minion. That was poor play. But here the Grok gets greedy, and I am going to wrap up a quad kill on him. So anyways, probably could have had a penta if I didn't have the mess up. But the main point of this is when you're Lindis, fight near a bush, and yeah, just thrive. And if you are fighting against a Lindis, do not let her fight next to a bush. It's just setting your team up for failure. Okay, that does it for today's video. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you did. Also, it really helps me if you will share this video around so that other people can join the Squirrel Nation and just join our great community we have going on. But anyways, as always, I'll see you all tomorrow, and happy ranking.